So a little over 5 years ago, the Terrorbyte was added to Grand Theft Auto Online, along with the After Hours DLC. And here we are in 2024, we're a year away from Grand Theft Auto 6. And my question is if the Terrorbyte is obsolete or not in the year 2024. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the video. Now the Terrorbyte is not cheap, and you need a nightclub in order to purchase a Terrorbyte. The cheapest nightclub being $1,080,000, and after you buy the nightclub, the Terrorbyte's going to cost you $1.3 million. And with all the upgrades to the Terrorbyte to maximize profits of the Terrorbyte and the defensive capabilities, you're going to be spending about $3.4 million. Now, the Terrorbyte is a service vehicle, much like the MOC and the Asset Lab and the Avenger, and you can spawn it in by using the interaction menu and hitting service vehicles, and it'll spawn in a couple blocks away from you. Now, if you come over here to this touch screen inside Terrorbyte, it has client jobs, resupply missions for your MC businesses, resupply missions for your bunker, resupply missions for your hangar, sourcing missions for your crate warehouses, and sourcing missions for your vehicle warehouses. I don't recommend doing the resupply missions for the MC businesses, the hangar, or the bunker, because this is all just resupply missions, and you can just buy supplies for your MC businesses and your bunker. And for your hangar, you may as well just go to your hangar because you're gonna have to fly a plane for most of these missions, or you have to drive a certain vehicle for most of these missions. And these vehicles spawn outside your hangar. So I would just recommend starting your hangar source missions at your hangar instead of just going through the trouble of calling your Terrorbyte. Now we're gonna get into sourcing crates and sourcing import-export vehicles, but I want to talk about client jobs. Each client job pays $30,000, and if you buy the drone station, you can do an additional 2 more. When you buy the base Terrorbyte, you can only do 2 client jobs, but when you buy the drone station, you can do an additional 2 more client jobs. And like I said, each client job pays $30,000, except for collector's pieces and deal break. You need 2 players to do those jobs, and they take a long time to do, and they're really difficult, and they're only $15,000 for the max payout. Now, if you have a full CEO or MC, you can actually do these missions with friends, and they actually get the same payout as you. So if you have a friend that needs money in Grand Theft Auto Online, I would recommend doing client jobs with them because they get the full payout, just like you. Now, when it comes to the crate warehouse, the best method I found to be the most useful for the crate warehouse is to park a Terrorbyte outside of your warehouse, and then I would just go into the trailer and I would source 3 crates. You can do 2 or 1 if you want, but I usually do 3 because it's most profitable. So I source 3 crates, and then I do the crate mission. I bring the crates back to the warehouse, and then I would either do a VIP work for the cooldown, or I would just sit there and just wait or whatever. And I'll wait for the cooldown. The cooldown's only about 3 to 5 minutes, so I would wait for the cooldown to source the next set of crates, and I just rinse and repeat this entire process. And this is very useful, especially when it's double money on crate warehouse. Drive all the way back to your office, or fly all the way back to your office. You can just go into the Terrorbyte and just source another set of crates. Now for import-export or your vehicle warehouse, it's essentially the same difference. You rinse and repeat the same process. You park the Terrorbyte right outside your vehicle warehouse. You source whatever vehicle the game gives you. You drive the vehicle back, and then you can source another vehicle after the cooldown. Like I said, it actually wastes a lot less time than it does just driving back to your office, like I said before. I would recommend buying the Terrorbyte if you do a lot of import-export sales, or if you sell a lot of special cargo. Now, I did mention that the Terrorbyte can be upgraded, and it can be upgraded with weapons. The first weapon I want to talk about is probably the SAM launcher, or the turret. And it's in the rear of the Terrorbyte, and it's actually really underrated. And if you and a friend were just driving around a Terrorbyte causing mayhem in a lobby, you can do a lot of damage, and you can probably piss off a lot of players. The turret missiles on the back of the Terrorbyte are actually extremely accurate. I wouldn't say they're Toreador accurate, but they're around oppressor accurate, and it's still going to do a lot of damage. Now, as you can see in this footage here, I'm actually fighting with the cops in the back of the Terrorbyte, and you can actually lock on to more than 1 target. And when you fire, the missiles actually split and go to each target. So if you're fighting somebody who's in a helicopter, and another person's in an oppressor, and another person's in a car, if you fire those 3 missiles, they're going to hit each target at the same time. And you can also lock on to players on foot with this SAM launcher. So yeah, if they're in a Monitech vehicle, they could probably tank the missiles. And if they're driving fast enough, like if they're in a Toreador, they could probably dodge the missiles. But if you're fighting somebody who's on foot, they cannot survive this. They can't. You'll probably have them in an EWO loop, because they cannot survive getting hit with a SAM missile, obviously. It's the equivalent of an oppressor missile, so it's obviously going to kill them with 1 shot. So I would recommend getting this because if you have a friend who can just drive around while you're firing sand missiles or the turret missiles, you can do a lot of damage actually. But if you're just by yourself with these missiles, yeah, you're going to do a lot of damage for a little bit, but eventually somebody's going to get a tank, or somebody's going to get a savage, or somebody's going to go off radar and place sticky bombs, and you're just going to be a sitting duck, and then you're just going to get blown up. So I would recommend buying these missiles if you plan to play by yourself. So next up is the drone that comes with the Terrorbyte. Now this is similar to the drone in the arcade and the drone that your character is equipped with if you have the drone in the arcade. And it's basically the same thing, except it actually has like a range. So if you go 100 meters over, you'll lose signal and you'll lose control of the drone, and the drone will malfunction and die. But if you stay in range of the Terrorbyte, which is like I said, 100 meters, you can use the drone to tase other players. And you can also self-destruct the drone, and you can also boost the drone. The drone is pretty slow, so I would time my boost for this. But yeah, if someone's running away from the Terrorbyte or whatever, I would recommend just like boosting and then catching up with them, and then detonating or tasing. But yeah, the loadout for the drone and its capabilities is actually pretty basic, but it can be pretty fun to troll people with. Now, when it comes to defensive capabilities and endurance for the Terrorbyte can take up to 34 missiles only when somebody's driving it or someone's in the front seat. If nobody's in the Terrorbyte, it can take 17 missiles before it blows up. So, if an oppressor is chasing you and you're driving the Terrorbyte and you have a friend in the back firing missiles, the oppressor's going to run out of missiles. The oppressor only carries 20 missiles, so they would have to go and refill their oppressor. But by then, your friend in the back would probably end up killing them with a SAM launcher. So if you're fighting somebody in a Terrorbyte, or you're being chased by somebody while you're driving a Terrorbyte in a weaponized vehicle, they're gonna run out of missiles pretty quickly, unless it's like a Night Shark or a Toreador. Because a Night Shark doesn't have weapons, you can just throw sticky bombs and just restack sticky bombs over and over. And when it comes to the Toreador has infinite missiles, so I would be careful with Toreador. Maybe get somebody on the SAM launcher in the back. And if you're fighting against a helicopter, like I said, get someone on the SAM launcher in the back and you should be good. But this is actually pretty good for defensive capabilities. Now that the Acid Lab and the MLC Cab actually can tank more missiles than the Terrorbyte. But the Terrorbyte also has pretty good defensive capabilities with the SAM launcher, like I said before. So I would say the Terrorbyte is kind of viable in PvP if you're with a friend. If you're by yourself, I wouldn't recommend getting a Terrorbyte just for PvP. Now, I know we talked about the client jobs earlier, but I actually really want to get into how much money you can make an hour if you combine the client jobs with other active ways to make money in the game. So in this footage, I was playing for about an hour, and I timed myself on a timer. And I was playing for about an hour, and I started with client jobs, then I would move on to VIP work, that'd be Headhunter, and then I would do a payphone hit, and then I would do a security contract. And doing that for an hour, I made $480,000. Granted, that really depends on what the payout for the security contract is. So for example, sometimes you'll get 3 security contracts and you'll have like 3 options to do each one. And the highest paying one is going to be about $50,000. The highest I've seen it was like $70,000. That's pretty rare. So maybe sometimes you'll get $70,000 and you'll make more than this, or you'll luck out and you'll only get like a max $40,000 for a security contract. But yeah, I would say to do any of the client jobs besides Deal Breaker and Collector Pieces, do a Headhunter, do a payphone hit, and make sure you get the assassination bonus. Then do the highest paying client job. One client job I would recommend to avoid is definitely going to be asset protection, because you're just sitting there for 10 minutes basically fighting off waves of enemies, making sure that a product doesn't get destroyed. And in 10 minutes, you can probably do another client job and a VIP work and a payphone hit in the span of 10 minutes. So you're basically just wasting time there. So my final verdict for the Terrorbyte 2024, is it worth buying? Yeah, I would say it's worth buying still. It's still pretty expensive, and I don't recommend it being your first purchase when you start Grand Theft Auto Online, unless you're on Next Gen and you're a nightclub owner. I would not recommend getting the Terrorbyte just because of the paywall, because you gotta buy a nightclub, which the cheapest one being $1,080,000. Then you gotta buy the Terrorbyte, which is gonna be $1.3 million, and then you're gonna have to buy the upgrades with the Terrorbyte. So in total, that's $3.4 million minus nightclub. So you're gonna be spending about $4 million just to get your foot in the door with the Terrorbyte. So I would recommend buying the Terrorbyte like as soon as, oh, I'm a new player, let me buy a Terrorbyte because Lunch Stray Boy said it's a good vehicle. I would wait till you got like a few businesses under your belt. I would recommend getting the Kasaka first, getting the agency of course, so you can maximize your profit with the Terrorbyte. and then get the Terrorbyte. I still recommend it for sure. Just don't waste your time with the resupply missions because you can just buy supplies. I would only recommend using the Terrorbyte when it comes to businesses. I would only recommend using the Terrorbyte when it comes to your vehicle warehouse and your special crate warehouse. Other than that, don't use this for your businesses because you're not gonna have a good time. But like I said, if you use the money method I applied with the Terrorbyte, that being client job, headhunter, payphone hit, security contract, you're gonna make about $480,000 an hour. And if you're waiting for a Kyle Brinkle cooldown, and if you're waiting for your acid lab to produce product in the meantime, this is a good way to make money in the meantime while you're waiting for the cooldown or waiting for your businesses, your passive businesses, to produce product. So yeah, if you're a money grinder, for sure, I recommend the Terrorbyte. But if you guys did go enjoy this video, if that was informative and helpful, like and a comment would be appreciated. Subscribe new to the channel. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.